What's going on, college football fans? Coming at you with another breakdown, another preview of another Michigan game. It is your resident Michigan fan, one half of a house divided here. Your boy Marcus. Got a lot to talk about this week. Got a lot to go over. Very somber feeling coming into the game week, but got to shed all that off. Got a whole new game to talk about, so we'll get into it. Before we start up, like, share, and subscribe as always. You know what we do here, trying to get this thing as big as we can get it. Saturdays, we are live on this channel, Maze Madman and Boxing Maniac and Johnny Olden as well. All live on the Big College Football Show at 11. Make sure you tune in to us there. It's a good time. Only way really to spend your Saturday mornings. Just go ahead and get into it. In terms of this past Saturday's game, man, so many things that I thought would be able to be done in that game didn't get done. And it was a lot disappointing in the moment. After the fact, in the days that ensued, once the disappointment kind of subsided a bit and realized we got a whole another 6 games to play, you start pinpointing specifics. Right? It's very easy to get doom and gloom in the middle of a game or even in the immediate aftermath of a game, right? Like I don't begrudge people for feeling their emotions in the immediate. I think where I kind of separate from the general fan base is at the point of, okay, well, everything's over now and we got to start over and hire Kirk Sitnetti. That's what the hell am I going to do with that? You go back to work, you lost a game. A lot of guys in that organization getting paid a lot of money to figure it out. So I expect them to do so. In terms of the game, I would say that defensively, I think is where most of this is lost. I think you could probably expect us to have some offensive struggles. Again, freshman quarterback on the road. I don't know why people were so excited to see a true freshman, 19-year-old kid, right, play his freshman year. Like, they're so excited to get him to play early, as soon as possible, because he just had to be on the field, too talented. But won't give him the same time that you give an Andrew Marsh to come along. Won't give him the same time that, a oh man, let me give you some defensive prospects. A Nathaniel Owusu Boateng, a Shamari Earls, right? Those are freshmen as well. And because of the positions they play, they don't have nearly as much jeopardy on their play or how their play affects the game as Bryce Underwood, and that's understood. But they're freshmen nonetheless. And the same expectancy that you put on those guys to learn the playbook and get up to speed and be proficient at it, you got to give that level of grace with Bryce Underwood, right? Like I think it's a bit of a self-eating snake to be like, oh, we got to have him out there, and then when you see the cracks or you see the inefficiencies from having a true freshman quarterback, then you bemoan it. No. These were the lumps that we had to take. Did they necessarily all have to come with losses? No, not necessarily, and they haven't so far, right? He's made mistakes that we've been able to overcome offensively so far this year, and some we haven't. I think it is a part of his maturation to see him kind of highest of the highs and lowest of the lows. Right now, what I'm seeing a lot from him is that he's a very good thrower of the ball, right? He's a lot of arm talent, can throw the ball a mile. He is much more comfortable right now throwing the ball on the move or off platform than he is sitting still in the pocket or straight drop backs. Had an interesting conversation with a friend of mine, readings by Dom. Shout out to him. We kind of talk a little bit during the game. And for the most part, I was in lockstep with them in terms of, after the fact, what went wrong. I'm a big time of possession guy. I think that time of possession was a key factor in Michigan winning this game. And, we lost it. We lost it by a considerable amount. And I think some of the play calling goes into that. However, where I'm going to depart from my friend there, Dom, is I don't think this is well, then let's strip the playbook down and just turn him into a drop back quarterback. let's make him a pure pocket passer and turn this into the Cade McNamara 2021 offense. No, no. Number one, I think just empirically, just looking at the kid, the physical profile does not allow you to do that with him. Does not allow you to just sit back there and have him drop back in the pocket 20 times a game. That's before we talk about any other of our personnel groups, offensive line, wide receivers, what have you. Before we talk about what anybody else can do, him, what he can do with his body should not allow you to make him stand back there and be a statue. Again, we can delineate this. It doesn't have to be JT Barrett necessarily 20 times a game, not Pat White or Tim Tebow. Can we be Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson? Can we be Jameis Winston? Can we be Chip Lindsey's last quarterback and Drake May? Right? You'd be hard pressed. And I was talking about this with another friend of mine over the weekend. You'd be hard pressed to look out over the NFL and find a quarterback who's stationary and successful. Who's stationary and successful. Goff, Stafford, right? I mean, I'm sure there's more. I don't watch a lot of NFL. Sam Darnold plays well, I guess. But Jackson, Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Murray. I mean, even the newer generation of Baker Mayfield, even the newer generation. You got Caleb Williams, you got Justin Fields, you've got Cam Ward. Like these are not stationary pocket quarterbacks. Not only is it not necessarily where college football is today to have a stationary quarterback, I think it's easier to guard that way. I think when you take a quarterback's ability to run the football or at least be a threat running the football away from the offense, you're playing with one arm behind your back in 2025. The skill talent on the other side is too fast not to have an equalizer. And so if only thing we have to do is move an extra player into the box to stifle you, that feels like cutting off your nose to spite your face. Now, does that not mean that they need to have balance in the play calling for Bryce? Absolutely. Because it's a non-starter for him to only be able to throw off platform. It's a non-starter for him to only be successful in the passing game in sprint outs and nakeds. That can't be it, right? Especially when we're still dropping back about 12 to 15 times on average game. There's still straight, and that includes your play action passes too, which is tantamount to Michigan's offense. So if he's better on sprint outs, nakeds, RPOs, than he is deep play action, deep drops on play action, and just straight dropbacks in the pocket, then that tells me where we need to focus our energy in terms of development. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's where we need to completely revert the offense for me. Now, going along with that, the play calling, right? Time of possession. I think Michigan holds this ball longer than they did. They only had one really long sustained drive. They had a 14-play drive where he scored that touchdown early. But other than that, they weren't able to hang on to the ball a lot. Some of that due to some erroneous penalties, killing drives early on. But a lot of it just on them executing, hitting the wrong guy or going after the wrong guy on third and 7, going for a home run hit when all we need is the 5 to pick up the first down. I don't think drops was as big of a problem this game. I think the wide receivers did pretty well. But the same thing I was preaching for our defense to win against USC, win first down. Well, USC repeatedly won first down against us on offense. And so now you're looking at, again, second and longs with a young quarterback who is not that prolific in dropping straight back into the pocket. So you're putting him in obvious passing situations where he's going to have to drop straight back into the pocket, and it's putting the entire offense in jeopardy. They need to be ahead of the chains. They need to be chewing clock. Don made a good point about how Chip should be putting a bug in Bryce's ear about running down the clock and not allowing so much time to stay on before we're having drives. Because ultimately, if the drive doesn't go anywhere, you would like to take a few minutes off before you hand the ball back to him. So you end up scoring right there before the half. handing the ball back to him with 3 minutes. That's an eternity for a Lincoln Riley offense. So we have to be more strategic and more complementary to our defense when we're putting the offensive game plan together. Um, and if that just means less bubbles, then that's gotta be what it is. If that just means less screening than what Chip Lindsey is used to, something has to get sacrificed, right? Because we're putting ourselves in inadvantageous spots on third down. And it's also now it's getting to the point where it's kind of making the run game inconsistent. I do think there were times here where the offensive line was firing off and they had good consistency. You can't take them out of that rhythm. Like you gotta pound, you gotta pound, you gotta pound, you gotta pound, and then you gotta break one. And you gotta pound again, and then you gotta go play action. You gotta pound again. You know what I mean? That was the game plan, at least the way that I saw it going in. Maybe they saw something differently. Maybe they thought USC would be anticipating that they were going to try and run the rock and they were going to throw their changeup pitch early to try to throw USC off. Whatever the plan was, it didn't really work. And if not for some of those fortuitous turnovers that Michigan got in the red zone, the score could have been a lot worse. To be quite honest with you, defensively, I think that if them boys haven't been hitting all week, or by the time we play Washington haven't been hitting all week, then something's different at Michigan. Something is definitely different at Michigan. I want to directly talk about Brandon Hillman. Brandon Hillman is the heart and soul of the defense, right? Like I think Rod Moore is the leader. He's going to be getting people in position. But you're telling me who gets guys fired up, who's the beating heart of the defense is Brandon Hillman. And so most times how he expresses that is by reckless abandon, throw your body 110 miles per hour at anything in front of you. And that usually works out well for him. This game, we needed him to tackle in space. We needed him to tackle in space on all of those jailbird screens that they were running on us. This was a game where USC saw what worked and they ran it relentlessly. They ran counter until it hurt. They ran those jailbird screens until they were up by 20 points. And that's just the way it went. They weren't going to sit back there and hold the ball and drop back a million times and get Jake Mayalva destroyed. They said this ball's coming out in 2 seconds. We'll continue to keep them off balance with the running game. And when Michigan proved that they couldn't stop the run, then that was kind of the slow death for them, right? Like they got a little bit stouter in the red zones and made it a little bit harder, but you gave them a two-way run. So at that point, you're kind of just at their mercy. You're kind of just at their mercy. You had to take something away. Another point from the breakdown last week, you had to take the runaway. Had to take a runaway. Wasn't able to fit the counter runs just like, in other points this year, a la John Mateer in Oklahoma. It's just got to find a way to do better there, man. And honestly, it's concerning because, yes, while USC is one of the better offenses we will see this season, the fundamentals of coming to balance, breaking down, and making a tackle don't change. That doesn't change per opponent. So the fact that we're still having problems with it midway through the season, I'll be candid, that's not a good sign. I think the secondary, man, I get it. The ball's coming out very fast. There's next to no pressure being applied because of how fast the ball's coming out. At a certain point, though, we got to be able to play man, get up and get off blocks. And so whether that's Jair, whether that's Zeke Berry, whether that's Jaden Saunders, somebody has to be out there making a play. You have to. It's the only way to beat it. Somebody's got to get off a block. Somebody's got to go ahead and be a playmaker. If not, they're getting 5 yards a pop. And that's just kind of how that went. They didn't have to drop back. They weren't playing behind the chains. We did not win first down. And they possessed the ball a lot longer than we did. So just a complete disaster defensively, to be honest with you. There really isn't anything redeeming from that game. I think the second pass or second interception that Mayalva threw was probably the dumbest pass I've seen in college football this year. They should take absolutely no pride in getting that pick. The first one with Jair Hill, causing the fumble in that tight end in the red zone. That was, again, fortunate, but we didn't take advantage of it. We didn't score off of it. So there again, complimentary football kind of veers its ugly head. all in all, man, this is one where you get on the game tape early and then burn it. Get on the game tape. Let's teach, let's learn, and then burn that shit. Because if that Michigan team shows up again this year, we'll lose. We'll 100% lose. Do I think that'll be the case? I don't think so. I'm confident in the guys in the room. I'm confident in the guys running the show. I'm confident in the guys that are playing. We got a lot of young guys playing for the first time, whether that's freshmen or guys who are starting for the first time. That plays a factor. People want to overlook experience constantly, like it means nothing. Talent does not beat experience. Never. Never has, never will. And so while a lot of these guys are getting accustomed to their spots and trying to be versions of older guys that we had before, we're trying to find a new Kenneth Grant, trying to find a new Mason Graham, trying to find a new Amarian Stewart. We're trying to find new guys, new playmakers to step up into those roles and make a difference. So, just kind of put the fork in that game. That was what it was. Obviously, not the way we wanted it to go. Reality is, next 6 games are very winnable. The last one obviously is a challenge, one that they've met each of the last 4 years, and last year was in much more dire straits than what we have coming to us at the end of this season. Last year was on the road, and we had the equivalent of Benny Hill at quarterback. So take that for what you will. But even before then, games against Washington and Northwestern and I think Purdue is on the schedule. Maryland and Ohio State are the last 2 games. Everything's in front of you. Everything's in front of you. You run out the table on that. Not only will you probably be competing for a Big Ten championship, but you'll be squarely in the playoff hunt as well. They could probably survive another loss and still be in the playoff hunt because of how extended, the ranks are now. So basically an invitational. But my concern more so is for the game at the end of the year in the Big Ten title, and they are definitely still in the hunt. We've got serious problems, right? We've got things that need to be addressed now, last week actually. And so if they aren't able to do that, then it might end up being a long season. And so that's the honest part of it. Let's talk about Washington a little bit. Damon Williams, obviously dynamic quarterback. Offense a little bit different from what USC is going to try to provide, but a lot of similarities as well. They come to us, so we got them at home. That's a good thing after the road trip out west that we took last week. Definitely get a chance to right the ship versus a team I don't think is as strong as strong as USC was defensively. But again, I didn't expect for them to play that well. So we'll see how that goes on the defensive side. On the offensive side, we know what to expect from Jed Fish. It's a guy that we've played as a coach multiple times, and a guy that we have had formerly on the staff. I think everyone there knows him very well. They know what's coming. How well do we prepare? How well do we execute when we get to the game this week? Has tackling improved? Will we be able to possess the ball? Justice Haynes being injured. Does he come back this game? That's a storyline that'll persist here for the rest of the season on his health. Without him, are we able to adjust the running game to fit what Jordan Marshall does best? I don't think both of them run the same plays the same way. So are we able to get into some of those things that fit Jordan Marshall a little bit better? That'll be something to watch out for. And then continuing to get the ball to Donovan McCulley, man. Like, I don't think they're throwing him enough passes. You've seen a steady increase week over week as Bryce has come along. He should be the first option on a lot of these plays, which I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is. I would like them to try. It was a positive sign for me to see that their first play was a deep shot down the sideline to Donovan McCulley, because number one, they're trying to signal to the defense that we'll take that shot. But The second thing is that when you are taking that shot, they know who to go to. And so I'd like to see them dial up more of those. And I think that'll in turn help some of the running game woes we had last week. And defensively, if y'all don't get King on the ground, he'll burn you. He'll burn you. If we go out there and we tackle like we did against Oklahoma, if we tackle like we did last week against USC, they'll be dancing in our end zone on our home field. So this is really a gut check time for the program. It's a gut check time for the team. Not throwing in the towel halfway through the season. No reason to do that. But we need to see some improvement, right? It's been put on tape now. So now it's a situation of the sharks are circling. They smell your weaknesses. It is time for you to put up or shut up this season. I think that Michigan is favored by 3 points. I think it is over Washington at home, which is about a toss up on a neutral field. It could go either way. Based off of what we saw on Saturday, it can go either way. They could play just as bad as they did on Saturday, and they'll more than likely end up with a home loss. Or they could play the way we saw them play against Nebraska and Wisconsin, and I think that they'll have a pretty good chance of winning. It's just depending on getting the players into the best position to perform. That's number one for Chip Kelly. Let's make sure we're not just running our stuff because that's what we run, and we're running the plays that get the players in the best position to make plays for us offensively. Let's make sure we're possessing the ball. I understand that the clock management thing may be a bit much for a freshman, but from a coach's standpoint, you got the 30 seconds before the mic cuts out there, before they run the play. They let them know, hey, don't snap until, at very least, because those are things that are going to be important for us at some point. And I do think that, as the season goes along, I'd like to see Bryce improve on that. And touch. I know it's very easy to blame wide receivers for drops. It's not hard for me to see how they're dropping some of these when we're throwing 7-yard passes like we're trying to put a hole in the concrete wall. Touch. Decision making and touch are some of the things that we'll be, looking to improve Bryce on in the next 4 or 5 weeks before we head into the Ohio State game. So, excited to get back out. I think this is the type of team that revels in improving. No better time to do that than after a loss. So, let's roll the balls back out and see what Coach Moore and company have. If you're ducking out already, I don't think you were ever really in. You know what I'm saying? So let's go ahead and wrap it up there. You can go ahead and give me your thoughts on this weekend's game and last weekend's game against USC. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Again, we'll be live on this Saturday at the Big College Football Show at 11. Make sure you guys tune in. Other than that, we'll be at you with another one.